Welcome to another episode of the Sacred Travel Podcast. And today we are going to be diving deeper into how the Earth communicates and what are the energetic patterns that we can discover on this precious, precious planet. I want to start with speaking about ley lines. So, what are ley lines? You might have heard the term. And you might have wondered why, for example, elephants or other animals know the trails that they've been walking generation by generation, year by year, over and over again. Why the birds know their routes and why animals or even people, nomadic tribes travel the exact same trail year after year. And so the answer lies in the fact that the Earth is a living being and that Gaia has an intelligence beyond our five senses that exists and also enables and supports life in all forms. So you might know about these common measurements nowadays of the longitude and the latitude. And there is also the ley lines. You want to imagine the Earth like this giant globe and sphere in the cosmos with almost like an overlay of a holographic net, a grid that is the Earth grid. And as everything is energy, also the Earth has an energy on its own that it's emanating, transmitting, and receiving. And so this grid, that is these grid lines that are surrounding the Earth in all directions, this is the energetic currents that are running through and on and in the Earth. Ley lines are often also called song lines, dragon lines, earth meridians, fairy paths, or spirit lines. They are covering the entire globe, and that's the pulsating energy current running through the Earth within these meridians, almost like the meridians in our body. And so you can already tell by the names, song lines, this is the term that the Aborigines use, that by listening, there is information that is being transmitted in these lines. And dragon lines, this is a term that is more coming from Asia and the Asian ancient civilizations, traditions, where it refers back to that the primordial force that birthed our planet, Tiamat, the dragon mother, and that it's the dragons in all the elementals, but specifically in the earth, that are helping to support and to sustain Earth's energy. And so this wisdom used to be passed down from generation to generation, not just humans, but also the animals, because they are so sensitive. Like they can feel this. And especially I love that image of the Aborigines, because what they still nowadays, like they are able and they have it in their DNA also because it was passed down from generation to generation. They can hear, they can feel things that are happening thousands and thousands kilometers away. And same with the elephants, for example, or other beings that are highly, highly sensitive to these energetic, subtle energetic currents that are running through the earth. And that's why they exactly know where to navigate. It's basically an inherent navigation system of our earth. Isn't that cool? And so where these grid lines intersect, it's often a culmination of certain energy points happening. And in these places around the Earth, so if you look on the map, you would find a pattern that can identify that it is usually on these intersection of these ley lines and grid lines where sacred sites, temples, megalithic structures, stone circles, pyramids, churches, any places of worship or ceremony that is connected or supports the understanding that yes, we live in that physical reality, but also at the same time, we are connected throughout this giant net and grid. And so often, also pilgrimage routes would follow these ley lines or follow the energy patterns that are present there. And the term ley lines itself was established by a person called Alfred Watkins. And he was famous because he undertook many studies, like field studies, where he would actually go and dowse, and with the dowsing, prove the existence of these energetic currents. And there is a lot. So as I said, I mean, the entire Earth is covered with this grid, with this net. However, there is little information that we can find in sources about ley lines. So the most prominent that we can find are actually in the UK, because also the most studies that have been done were there with dowsing, and also electromagnetic measurements. And so some of the very prominent ley lines that you can also find information on is the Mary line, the Michael line. One is called the Athena line, the Apollo line, the Rose line. And so with these names, you can already tell a little bit about what is the energy that is present when you travel along these lines. And in these studies that have been done, it was also found, and that's why they were named after after the way that they are called right now. Most of these lines connect different places of worship that are tying in, that are connecting to a specific energy, to a specific person or lineage. And so the Mary and the Michael line, for example, we find them in the south of England. The Mary line is a very feminine energy that almost like in a serpentine motion slithers its way from one point to the other. And the Michael line would be more like a straight direct line, which is the male line. And the interesting fact is that they intersect at the heart chakra of the earth, which is the Glastonbury Tor. And you will find a lot of places that either worshipped Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, along the Mary line. A lot of places of worship or ceremony that were in some way connected to revering the goddess. And the Michael line, of course, like Archangel Michael, there is a lot of places that refer to the worship of Michael and some sort of the dragon slayer, the masculine energy. Then there is lines that even go all the way down to Greece. That's where the Athena and the Apollo line come in. And the Rose line, for example, this is where we would find many places where it is said and believed that Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, but also their children, especially Sarah Tamar, went and stayed or taught and also left a legacy. And so what that means is that the earth has a current on its own, and this is coming through these ley lines, but also we can use this as indications to what happened and what is the underlying energy that we can tap into, and at the same time, what were potential avatars and how did they bring forward on the earth this energy. So there's two powerful lines that we cannot go unmentioned with, and one is what is called the prime meridian. And so if you look at the map today, again, coming like from the longitude, latitude, there is this zero meridian that today is running through Greenwich in the UK. But we also mustn't forget that this was decided by a very small group of people. There was a decision taken, and by a group of masculine beings where this 0 point had to be. And that was something like in the 1800s. So it's not too long ago. And before, it was actually somewhere else, because the Earth tells us that this 0 meridian, like dividing our globe into east and west, is not in Greenwich, but that would be running through where the Great Pyramid is today, through the Giza Plateau. And that is for several reasons. You can all look them up. But basically, this is where the biggest piece of landmass comes together. Like if you look at the map, and that is the point of connection where the biggest landmass is being connected for the entire globe. And so running all the way through this massive continent of Africa. And then on the other side, covering also Hawaii. And that is an interesting fact also when we work with ley lines, because no matter where you are on this line, of course, there is many other places. And whether this is like sacred sites or just even also countries, like you can look at what countries does this pass, because you can tune into the energy that is on your meridian, on your ley line. And so the interesting fact about that prime meridian is also, it is called the 0. It is kind of like the ground zero. And also because of the fact that it connects ancient Egypt, which when we go back to ancient civilizations, this is where the Atlantean, like the first Atlantean colony was established. And on the other side with Hawaii, it's Lemuria that is very present. And so that ties back also to these primordial times when the earth came to be and when earth was created. And the name for that is Zep Tepi. So that's why also that meridian is often called Zep Tepi. Taking a deep breath together as we take in all this information and transition into the sacred sites now. So what is a sacred site? If we, again, like go back to ancient traditions, earth-based traditions, it was often the elders, or there were people in place, whether they were called priests or priestesses, but they were oracles, they were seers, they had these abilities to know where this energy would come out of the earth, or where we would have these important and powerful portals where the earth would also connect or be in connection with the cosmos and the other star nations. So they would know where these spots are that the earth energy is on a very high level and forming these sorts of vortexes and portals where we will go into in a second. And the these places were chosen, as we said in the beginning, often also the intersection of these ley lines, to build some sort of temple, place of worship, or megalithic structures, with mostly two reasons. So first of all, to like harness the energy that is originally and naturally present from the earth on these sites. So by building these temple structures or stone structures, that would serve as an amplification in geometric patterns, arrangement in geometric patterns, so that the energy could be harnessed. And whenever somebody or a group of people would enter these sites, there are certain healings or other, let's say, purposes that they would use this energy for. And the other reason, most of the time, was also to connect with the cosmos. And so again, we have this reciprocity of we are not alone, like on this planet and with this planet, but we are living in this universe, if not even multiverses. So we are one player amongst many, many, and we need these other nations, we need these other frequencies, we need these other planets and even consciousness to be in communion with. And the ancient traditions knew that, and they were, again, relying on that and had established this communication system with these sacred sites. The sites were used for healing. A lot of ceremonies were conducted, and also every time in connection with ritual, because it is when we have these ritual moments where we really come into co-creation with the earth and also with the universe. So all in all, a very conscious process of how also to access our own divine nature and to get an understanding that is beyond the human mind. So seeing humanity and seeing our human existence within this greater picture. That was always in the center. And why were these places so sacred? On the one hand side, it was really the veneration of Earth itself, and Earth and Gaia, like as the creator, creatrix, goddess. Most of these had a big mother cult as well, because we all come from the mother, whether it is our physical mother or Mother Earth, the cosmic womb, the earth womb. So this is where all of us exist. And it is really this co-creation with the earth and with the cosmos that is also beyond any sort of religion. So it's really connecting to the source, like the primordial source of the universe that exists, whether you want to call it God or universe or whatever is your name for that, but it is connecting back to the source and going back to that sense of belonging that we are all part of that. And that we are creatrix, creator, God within ourselves, and that we are walking the earth and having that human experience as God, goddess on earth. And so again, it is these crystalline grids, but it is also the structures that were built on top, whether man-made or not. It is the stones, it is also the trees, it is all of these structures that are holding the memory of first of all, the energy that is present in the earth, but then also of these generations and generations of ancestors that have walked exactly these places before, that have celebrated, that have cried and mourned and held festivities. So anything that ever happened, if you visit these places, you will feel it because it becomes alive. It is this holographic memory that you can still access nowadays. And again, I am inviting you to look at the map and see where are these sacred sites all around the world. And you will find that it's no coincidence. Like there is structures, there is patterns to that. And most of these sacred site alignments are a mirror for us and a mirror, whether this is to our own body structure, whether this is to the stars. So you will find many, many connections. For example, first of all, there is connections within certain structures around the globe. Pyramids. So we have the pyramids in Egypt. We also have a lot of pyramids in in the Yucatan area or in any countries in South and in South America. I am sure that there is a lot more pyramids that we haven't even discovered yet. And I believe that even mountains such as Mount Shasta or also others, that they are the ultimate pyramid template. And so over the next couple of years, that's my personal opinion, I think that we will have a lot more pyramids evolving and popping up in the world. And so this is one thing. And then the other is that many of the structures that were built, that they are mirroring some sort of alignment of the stars, for example. So again, there is always this connection to whoever built the structures, the sacred sites. They knew that, and they probably were like much, much more advanced in their consciousness and also in their tools and technology that nowadays our common history gives them credit for. And that is just simply a fact. If you go and visit these sites and you are in awe about like, how did this even happen? Like, how did they even, were they even able to do that in that precise way? So dig deeper and find the connections. So for example, also, if we look at certain temple structures, whether this is Egypt or whether this is also certain pyramids in Mexico, they follow a certain sequence. The temples in Egypt are built along the Nile, which represents our spine, and the different temples represent different chakra system, different chakras, different energy points in our body. So it's a mirror of our own existence, supporting the path of our own expansion into a greater consciousness. Same for the temples and the pyramids in Mexico. Same pattern. It's just that it is being said that the temples in Egypt hold more like that was where the masculine consciousness was anchored in, and the pyramids in Yucatan and Mexico, that was where the feminine consciousness was anchored in. Many of the, especially like big cathedrals that you find in Europe, same. So there was a pattern that when religion was indoctrinated and like made some sort of institution, they came and basically destroyed all the pagan and nature-based sites, oracle sites, temples, and placed their structures, the churches, cathedrals, on top. And that is why very, very often today, when you visit a church and you have this feeling of humbleness or almost like overwhelm and that sense of connectedness of being part of something greater and bigger, it is not because of the church. It is because this is a place and a spot where this energy is so potent, and whether they knew it or not, but they like replaced these ancient temples that had been already there because the ancient ones knew about it. They just placed the church on top. And I'm not saying that and any of this is bad or so, and that I mean, I love going to churches. I also like just find the architecture super intriguing. But just to let you know that many of these places used to be sacred and natural sacred sites where where religion came and placed their temple on top. And so many of these like huge cathedrals in Europe, for example, Notre Dame de Paris, or also Santiago de Compostela, the one where that is very famous for the pilgrimage, or also Chartres in France, or Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland. They used to be ancient druidic oracle sites that were actually dedicated to certain planets before they became churches. And this is just wisdom that it's lost, and nobody really talks about that anymore. But of course, also that if church would talk about it, they would admit that there was something before them, which is true. And I also want you to think of how many places do you know just in your immediate surrounding that have some sort of story, that have some sort of myth connected to it. And so that is an indication of that something important happened there. And many times it is brushed off as being myth, whereas myth is very often the source of our history and herstory. So pay attention to what is common history, and also what you feel when you go visit to certain sites. Different sacred sites can be megalithic structures, it can be oracle sites, it can be any type of temples, pyramids, stone structures, astronomical observatories, stone circles, but also sacred mountains, glaciers, craters, volcanoes, like man-made mounds, any kind of canyons or gorges or caves. All of these natural places that leave us in awe of what nature can form. Springs, natural sources of water, waterfalls. There's even landscape carvings or landscape zodiacs, sacred geometrical structures in the landscape, such as in the south of France. So there is really a lot that we do not necessarily know about. And it's by sharpening our senses and sharpening also our felt embodied sense when we go to these sites, what is possible. And then also we have apparition sites, miracle sites, relic sites or shrines that are dedicated to certain saints, trees, forests, petrified trees. There is medicine wheels, there is labyrinth, many islands. So all of these are sacred sites, and just don't get confused if people name something as a sacred site and you feel like, well, my sacred site is the tree behind the tree by the lake where I sit, because you feel that there is a powerful, powerful energy. So that is very well past possible. I'm just inviting you to tune more into these felt senses. Going into portals and vortexes. So a vortex is an energy field that can either spiral energy inward or outward. And it is said that the inward spiraling motion, it's called magnetic. So this is where we talk about the magnetism of the earth and the magnitude and the magnetic energies and the electric energies. The electric current from the earth is anything that like spirals out. And so in these vortexes, we can have one or the other, or we can also have both, where this is coming together and it is forming this huge, huge energy. And usually when you are in such a vortex, you will have a physical felt experience about it. And that can either be that, it's feeling the energy move your own body in a very dynamic, uplifting, or like spiraling motion. And it's usually also a place that will help us to expand our consciousness. For example, I'm just giving you, I had a couple, but I'm giving you three. So when I was at the Glastonbury tour, which is also said to be the heart chakra, it is set to like open up your heart. And my felt experience when I was walking these lands for a good week was really that I was this almost like 8-shaped figure, and I was plugged into the earth up to my waist. And then from here, it opened up like this. So it was very grounded. And literally, I felt as if my entire lower body was like sucked into the earth. And all the upper body was like this huge V shape that was going up. It was really weird because I hadn't experienced that before. And same at the stone circle in Avebury. So a very grounding experience, and that feeling that your feet are like super, super connected with the earth. And a complete opposite experience was when I was in Egypt at the Assyrian, which is a temple that belongs to the complex of Abydos. And that is a structure that is mirroring Orion's belt. And while we were there, and even after, for like 3 consecutive days, I felt like I was like shot up in space. And I was so ungrounded that led to my felt experience for, as I said, like 3 days, that my ground was an angle of 45 degrees. And I was walking like this, just on the normal ground. And so it really gives you this physical experience when you expose yourself to these vortexes. So it can even reach into the cosmos. And oftentimes also stone circles are known to be such vortexes as an amplification of the energy. As I said before, it's like through these geometrical structure that the energy is harnessed. And then once you are inside, it feels even more intense. And that might be through also natural like rock formation, mounds, ditches, or whatever is found. So it's very, very likely. And some examples of these vortexes around the world, and there's many, many more, but just to name some, it's Sedona, Red Rock Canyon, like the entire island of Bali, or Machu Picchu. They are known to have these frequencies and energies of vortex. And so these, if we have a very strong vortex that are forming these portals to, it can be another dimension, it can be other places on this planet or other places in the universe. And it literally means it's a doorway that we could open, or it is open, for certain frequencies or energies from other beings, nations, whatever, to stream through. And so when we are in such a vortex, when we are in such a portal, it is easier to get access to experiences that are presumably beyond human reach. But also, just like as a side note, yeah, be aware and be careful, because there might also be portals that you do not necessarily want to be in touch with. And also, again, to give you some examples of powerful vortexes around the world, and just to stress also what is possible in a physical experience, or in a physical sense, is that most of the time in these vortexes or these areas, there is phenomena of UVO sightings, for example. And so there is, it was discovered that on the 37th parallel north, there is many more UVO sightings than usual. And so that is a common vortex that runs along this meridian that is also, again, like looking on the map, it is connecting the Strait of Gibraltar with Göbekli Tepe, a very ancient temple in Turkey, and Death Valley, where, of course, there is also lots of, stuff going on there. And there is like something in Athens, which is like all on that same meridian. And so if we follow these traces, there is a lot of things that we can find that give an indication of how important this energy is, and also that it's no coincidence that they were all lined up. Then we also, all around the globe, for example, there is 12 of these like triangular shapes. One of the most known one is the Bermuda Triangle. And we all know that there is a lot of ships or airplanes that basically just disappear. And this is because it's a physical effect or a layer of how this can show up in this strong energetic vortex. It's taking some breathers in between. I wasn't expecting that to be so long, but I feel that this is all information I want to share. So, and yeah, circling back also to the sacred sites is the Earth Chakras. And yes, you heard right, the Earth also has chakras. And so I just want to make a little disclaimer here. I am hosting a masterclass on Earth Chakras, attuning to Gaia's frequencies, on the 28th of April. And if you want to join, then there is more information that I'll put in the show notes or also on my website. But what is a chakra, and what is their purpose, and where are they located? So first of all, you might be familiar with the chakra and the chakra system of your body. So basically, again, this is an energetic vortex. It's a wheel that spins, and that is responsible to receive, absorb, move, or also release certain energies, allowing us to connect and express certain, in the body it is emotions, or also certain frequencies. And so these earth chakras are also, of course, based on some research, and they were discovered by Robert Kuhn. They are located, for the base chakra, it's Mount Shasta, USA, which I feel, again, is like the original pyramid if you look at it. And this one is just, again, if you take us and the body as a mirror, this is the vortex that sends life force energy out from the planet, from the earth, into the atmosphere. Then we have the sacral, which is Lake Titicaca with Peru and Bolivia. And again, it's like no coincidence that this is a lake. It's water. And so it's even if you don't have a physical womb, but it's like the womb waters. It's the sacral where we are all sourced and being birthed out from. It's this natural abundance, the feminine and the masculine coming together to create that new consciousness. And then we have the solar plexus of the earth, which is in Australia at the Uluru and Katachuta. And that is the dream space of the earth. And then if you look at these, at this mountain, it's like this giant solar disk where the sun, the solar codes come, and from there it is being spread on the globe. So the solar plexus is all about the I am power. And then we go up to the heart, which is in Glastonbury in the UK. That is also said to hold the ancient kingdom of Avalon. So for those of you who have read the myths of Avalon or who are familiar with the Arthurian legend, this is where all of this plays and comes together. And so it's all about heart opening and experiencing love in a new way. And then we're traveling up to the throat. The throat chakra is at the Giza Plateau in Egypt. This is where the pyramids are. And that, again, like gives you an indication that no pyramid has ever meant or was ever meant to be a burial chamber. These are energy transmitters, and that is for another episode, but just leave it at that. It's the throat chakra, and it's all about sound and speaking your reality into being, healing through sound. And then we move up to the third eye, and the third eye is set to move with the ruling zodiac sign of that particular eon. And right now it is also in Glastonbury and Avalon. And that is where, when we travel physically or also etherically, we would get a lot of clarity and insight on the future for and of the earth and humanity. And the crown is another mountain, that is Mount Kailash in Tibet. And again, like if you look at that mountain, it's such a beautiful, beautiful pyramid structure. And that one, of course, is connecting us to the higher realms and the true will and also purpose of the earth. So all of these chakras on the earth are another mirror and reflection of our own journey, of our own purpose, linking to our own energy centers. And it's really when we travel there, or when we connect with these energies, even in meditation, we comprehend and realize our divine nature and can expand our consciousness through these amplifiers. So if this sounds exciting to you, I am inviting you to join my masterclass on the 28th of April. It's about the Earth Chakras, attuning to Gaia's frequency, and we will dive deeper into each of the chakras and also the wisdom that the Earth has in store and how we can harness that for our own expansion journey. I thank you if you made it until here, and thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next episode.